All right. Welcome back, you beautiful humans, messy loves. Welcome back to another episode of Sex, Drugs, and Soul. Today, I have on Alex Ruiz, an Emmy award-winning animator and artist, body paint extraordinaire. He's worked on, he's also a teacher. He's worked on The Simpsons, The Avengers, Beauty and the Beast, which I just discovered yesterday, which is pretty freaking cool. Yeah, I would love, thank you first off for coming on here. I don't know if you really know just how like beautiful that session was with you and like how much symbology it also held for me, like a death rebirth moment. And I just really like appreciate you for coming on and can't wait to dive into your story more and go into the peaks and valleys and inspiration and all the things. So
Yes, great to be here, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
yeah, thank you. I'm curious, like when I'm envisioning little Alex, were you always into art or?
Yeah, ever since I was old enough to hold a pencil or a crayon, probably about 2 or 3 years old. And then I just never stopped.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
always.
that's cool. And your parents always encouraged you?
Yeah, there was a lot of encouragement in the form of, well, here's some art supplies. You seem to like it. So go. There was never any discouragement as far as you're never going to make money as an artist. You're going to be a doctor like Uncle so-and-so. You're going to bring in money. You're going to support your family. Artists don't make money. There was none of that to block my way of becoming an artist, thankfully. Yeah.
That's awesome. I definitely had a little bit of both. Like one set where like you can have whatever you want. And then one was like, you might want to go to college for a backup plan.
Right.
So I guess you always knew you wanted to be an artist, like as a wee little lad. What was your first dream and vision, like going into high school and college?
Well, I think it started with just being very inspired by everything that I was watching as far as cartoons and toys and He-Man and Transformers and Inspector Gadget and Garfield. I mean, I could go down the list of hundreds of things that I was inspired by. And then I would just draw them because I was so inspired. Then I would just start copying them. And that was how I spent most of my time, even to this day, is whenever I'm inspired by something. And usually it's people or faces. I'll create a portrait for someone and then somehow find a way to get it to them. And that starts a relationship with me and the people that I'm inspired by. So it's a great art as a lead into a relationship with someone has been kind of my, I don't want to say tactic, but just a method that I use to, let's say I want to meet someone who's kind of up there and I'm inspired by. I create a piece of art for them and I find a way to get it to them somehow and then develop a relationship with them.
That's cool. So it goes from like being inspired. I always think of it like in spirit and then helping like foster that connection and community. Cool. Like noted.
Yes.
Do you ever keep things or any pieces of art for yourself or do you share like a lot of it or?
Yeah, it's a great question. And yes, I have hundreds, if not thousands of pieces of art that no one has ever seen. And I have shared thousands of pieces of art over the years. I've basically hoarded an obscene amount of artwork I've created. And so half the time it seems that I'm doing it just for me, just for my enjoyment of it. However, in the past few years, my love of art has kind of been taking a different road in that the way that I describe it is this, art is my lover and now we are separated. Yeah. Kind of a thing. I know, right? And so even though I create art these days, it's not with the same passion. It's like being in a relationship where you're just kind of going through the motions.
Like relationship roommates or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I'm constantly in this struggle with the muse these days. And I feel what that's been telling me is I need to start sharing my story more, hence being here with you.
Oh,
I need
good.
to start teaching more. I need to stop hiding in my art cave and creating art, because that's pretty much what I've done my entire life, is just hide and make art. And I feel the message coming through of like, no, you need to get out and talk more about it. You need to teach it. And hence the struggle of the inner artist and the teacher that is needing to come out and be with the world. And now I'm trying to find that new balance of creating art, falling in love with art again. And the session you and I did was magical. It was so magical. And in those situations when I'm body painting, that's kind of a newer thing in the past couple of years, is using the body as a canvas. And I just kind of fell into it, and I realized, oh my God, I love this. And so that is where I really feel that connection to the muse, and I fall back in love with art, is when there's another person there and I'm literally painting on them. Yeah.
It was like definitely a portal of presence and sensuality. For me, I'm like, oh, I can feel like the paint drop, dribble down to my belly button, the cold temperature. I'm like, I'm feeling everything. It was so beautiful. Just felt so alive, and present, and collaborative. I love too kind of what you said about doing it for yourself, and maybe not as goal oriented, or because what comes up for me sometimes is judgment. So do you, like, how would you suggest someone, or how do you, with your own self-judgment, release it or go toe-to-toe with it, or whatever, what I'm getting at?
Yeah. So obviously finding the time and space to actually create. And I feel, even for me, but I see so many people, they tell me, well, I just don't have the time to create. And then I say, well, then it probably doesn't mean that much to you. And they're like, don't tell me what it means to me. And I'm like, all right, well, you got to find the time and the space, right? And then there's the element of like, well, I can't draw, I can't paint, I suck, right? And then I ask, well, do you want to get better? And most people say, well, yeah. Right. And it's like, okay, you need to practice just like anything else. If you're going to run a marathon, you need to practice and train for 6 months or a year before that. And so it is a lot of sitting with yourself and or taking classes from teachers such as myself, or going to group workshops, like the one we met at.
Love that workshop.
That was a great one.
That I still have in my face. And like I had a story that I was like, the only thing I can draw is like this little face, like little smiley face. And, but that it gave me a different level of confidence and exploring. Like I've been, even since our body paint session, feeling like the well of creativity. So I went and did a silversmith workshop and made a ring, and
Nice.
Just trying out things more too.
Yeah.
So I guess like the power of consistency then, or just showing up, because I do believe we prioritize the things that are important to us. So if someone wants to increase or strengthen their art muscle, it's like put in some reps.
Put in some reps.
Yeah,
exactly.
Even if it's like 15 minutes, I think. And for those sessions, and I've been trying to adapt this in multiple aspects of life, as far as more flow and not forcing or releasing releasing attachment to a certain outcome or goal. How do you do that?
How do you do it? Yeah. That's a hard thing to not do.
Yeah.
At least for me, because every time I'm working on a drawing or a piece or a painting these days, I am thinking about its presentation. I'm thinking about how it could potentially be received. And so, yeah, that's all kind of going through my head when I'm creating. And yeah, that's a tricky thing to turn off. I find that when you're working with other people or just hanging out with other people and making art, that's less there. And it's probably because you're with other people's energy, and you're there for the love of art, and you're having a good time, and you're talking about life and all this stuff while creating. So that's another thing I've been breaking away over the past few years, is just doing it alone, which I've created my best work alone. And I still think in the future, that's how I'm going to create my best work. But you could start a painting with a friend or a group or a class. You could start 10 paintings, right? And then you go and work on them yourself alone, right? And then maybe go back with a group. There's many different ways of doing it, but there's this great book called Your Brain on Art. And it talks about if you just do one art workshop a month or one art experience, they get together with friends or paint or draw or sing or dance or write, that will extend your life by like 10 years in the long run.
Wow.
And these are studied, scientific backed studies, right, that confirm the healing power of creativity. So that's something I'm excited to start teaching, literally teaching concepts in this book and many other books on creativity, and how creativity is kind of like this dying thing in this world. I read this stat on Gallup poll the other day where creativity is at an all-time low in pretty much every major business, at least in the US, costing billions, if not trillions of dollars in lack of productivity because people don't know how to access creativity again. And so I'm excited to get out there in companies, do public speaking, doing workshops, and helping people to engage in their inner creativity, which is unique to everyone.
I love that. When you were speaking, I was getting like a vision of you like helping a company.
Yes.
It's like, and then like having people, you're like, okay, today we're gonna do something.
That's it. And I'm super excited about doing
that.
So I'm starting to ideate that and set that up. What a public speaking art workshop tour is going to look like for me in the next, moving forward from now on till, as long as I can stand and walk and create art and speak about it.
Yeah, I definitely think that you mentioned like a healing power to it too. I didn't realize just how much like I thought even like my book, I thought I was writing it for like a younger version of me, still in that lost pain or chaos or someone of like a similar strife. And so, but then going on that journey, it was like so many aha moments, so many connect the dots, or just, crying moments, very alchemical. It's like through the process of like the journey of it was so beautiful. I would love to touch on how you discovered the healing power of art, or even like go a little bit more of the journey from, working as an animator and artist, to how you found that you wanted to step into teaching or lead workshops, speak, do all those things. Because I'm guessing it wasn't just linear.
Never is. Never is it? Yeah. So while on The Simpsons, I discovered a new kind of art, and I was already getting sick of The Simpsons. I was on the show 8.5 years at this point. It's a long time to be on one show, on one project, and I was literally going insane. Like, I can't draw these big-eyed yellow characters anymore. Like, I'm meant for something bigger, and I'm grateful for the experience, but it was what they call a golden handcuffs situation, getting paid a lot of money to work on this incredibly popular project. And yet I was just so deeply unfulfilled as an artist. And so I find the visionary artwork of some other artists, in particular Android Jones, who is one of the greatest artists I've ever experienced and seen in my life. And so I'm looking at his work, and it's wild and beautiful and colorful and psychedelic. And then I learned he's doing this on the computer, and I didn't even own a computer at the time. This was in 2003. And I'm like, how do you even first of all, how do you even think about creating art like this? Second, you're doing it on a computer? Like, what the fuck? So for me, it was just like this very humbling moment of like, I want to do this. Like, how am I going to do this? Here I am drawing these big-eyed characters, and I'm seeing this artwork that's blowing my mind. So it was like learning how to walk again is how I describe it. I was a big fish in the Simpsons small pond, and now I'm wanting to jump out into a larger ocean of incredible artists. And I'm like, I can't do this. Just the overwhelm of like, how am I going to do this? I can't do this. Just the lack of confidence, just everything was just ate at me for years. And so I was still working on The Simpsons, and by night I was training in this new modality of digital painting and really getting back into human anatomy. I feel all the best art in the world ever created stems from knowledge of the body. So I really got back into that. And for about 3 years, I didn't post any of this new stuff. I was super embarrassed because it looked like shit, in my opinion. And it really did, because it was like a brand new artist learning how to draw like stick figures. That's how my digital paintings were. It was just very awful. And after about 3 years, someone was like, you should start posting. Some of this is kind of okay. And I was like, no, they're going to laugh at me. Like, and I wasn't going to post my Simpsons stuff because I didn't want to be associated with the Simpsons at that point. I'm like, I'm a serious artist now. Serious artists don't draw cartoons. So I kind of put that in the background, and it was on my resume, but I didn't really talk about it unless people brought it up to me. So it was a very difficult early transition of breaking away from one style of creativity into another. And it was that point of deciding to be what was called a conceptual artist. And it took me 10 years to get my next professional job. And I had freelance jobs in between them. But while within that 10 years, a school reached out to me and they were like, hey, you're pretty good. Can you teach this stuff? And I'm like, I don't work in this industry. Like they're like, we don't care as long as you could teach what you're doing here to our students. And that was in 2009. And that's when I realized, I didn't need to be a professional conceptual artist to teach concept art. So then I started teaching, and I started loving it and going to weekly classes where I was teaching at different, more vocational schools in Los Angeles. And I started teaching online. And then I started getting professional work. So it was like, okay, I got good at it because I wanted to. And then schools reached out to me and they're like, can you teach this? And so I started that process. And then I started getting professional jobs. So it's kind of like a backwards way. And
that's cool though.
And yeah.
And like you were teaching them the computer, like
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty much everything from computer to even drawing on pencil, paper, right? Where that's the most basic way anyone can start is pencil and paper. And I still love pencil and paper. And now, especially in the age of AI.
I was going to ask you something.
Yeah. Where everyone's a digital artist.
Yeah.
Because they can write a prompt and then they get an output and they post it and they're like, look what I made. I'm an AI artist now. And it's very, very sensitive subject for me and a lot of my friends who have, lost a lot of business because of this. And when I first noticed the power of this artificially created imagery, I don't even call it artwork, because artwork is the intention of making something through the crafting and the process, right? There is none of that in AI. There's none of that. Maybe there is some in prompting and writing, which is interesting. But the output, there is no one who is sitting there with a brush or pencil drawing this stuff out. The machine did it. And it's like, who is the machine? We live in a very strange world where now machines are creating art. So I had a business that started in 2018 where I was just creating digital portraits of people. And in early mid 22, when the AI explosion started happening, that business died like overnight, literally overnight. People stopped reaching out to me because they're like, why do I need to pay him? I can just upload my pictures into this app. And it gives me all those dope versions of myself.
I think I remember that app.
Yeah, and like everyone was doing it.
Yes, it
and
was a
every
trend.
day I saw some friends were hitting me up and they're like, hey, how do you feel about this? Like, I could sense that you probably don't like this, but I want to try it. Like they were asking for my permission. I'm like, do it. It's great. Because secretly I was hoping to stop doing those portraits. Careful what you wish for kind of thing. And so overnight that business died, but it gave me a new sense of relief of like, okay, now I'm going to start doing other creative things. It's not all about portraits. So
it's like those moments of setback that can slingshot us in a different direction, or like whether it's rejection as redirection, or asking you got your wish granted, maybe not in the way that you anticipated.
But because then I was like, how else am I going to make money? You know, and so getting more back into teaching, right? And now that kind of that phase of AI has died out in a certain way. People are contacting me again for portraits.
Oh, good.
Because they're like, I want a real human to create my portrait. I'm done looking at this AI art. It's too perfect. It's too slick. And I want a real artist to do it. So I feel that that's a good sign.
Yeah. And I think that for the art that, I mean, I feel like there's a deeper level of emotion evoked if there's an actual human behind it versus just a computer spitting out an image.
Yeah.
And I feel that way about some. I know I've dabbled. I'm like, okay, I'm going to experiment like here.
Yeah.
But or even just how I feel whenever I write a poem, or versus like get a prompt from AI or something like that. And I tried an image on Chat GPT. No. Maybe we can chat, because I've been thinking about some like new podcast art or some jazz. So
let's do it.
Maybe there's another little collab session. I'm like, where do I want to go? Oh, I know you said that you're open to talking about the darkness, because I feel like to deny like those moments is to not deny a piece of our humanness too.
Yes.
And I feel like we came here to experience it all. It's not something that's been like an adjustment. I'm like, oh man, the I love feeling, but it's like, oh wow, I feel just as deeply as that, as much as I do feel the joyful moments. So I'd love to expand on that. I know that you had shared with me before and a little bit online too about like the suicidal moments or being in a darker depression. And was that also like a catalyst at some point for teaching, or just your own personal art journey? And I'm also curious about when psychedelics came into the picture too.
Okay. All right. We'll weave all of those. So as far as, I guess I would say my first dark night of the soul. I like to call it dark night of the ego, right? Because the soul knows what's going on. The ego is what is terrified, right? When it feels it's losing its sense of self and identity. And so in early 2018, so 7 years ago, I was at this lowest point, and I had basically cut myself off from everyone close to me. I was in a horrible relationship because I wasn't taking care of it. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was in the land of blame. I was blaming everyone else for what was wrong with me. And it took me a while to realize that that's not a good place to be. So I realized at that time, I'm on the road to suicide. It was a very stark revelation that happened in like a flash in early March 2018. And I thought, okay, if I stay on this road, I will end it. I don't know how, but I will. And it was just so terrifying. And at the same time, I was like, well, fuck it. I was just like indifferent, because when you're in that apathetic state of indifference, that's what leads to people offing themselves, because they just stop caring. They're like, why bother? Why bother going through this again? Why bother with any of it? And around that time, I found some great teachers online that I started to coach with. And I'd never had a coach before that. And I always kind of like pushed it away because I'm like, I can do this myself. And like, I've gotten out of these funks before and I'm a tortured artist and I'm supposed to be this way, right? All those myths.
I definitely idealized being like, oh, in the throes of being an artist.
I know. And I would always use that kind of, that whatever kind of energy that is in creating, new kinds of artwork. And so for, this again doesn't happen overnight. I was in this funk for like 10 years, because I really kind of went back and went back in the past. And there was a time when I was known as a dark artist. Like I was known as that. And I took that as a badge of honor because I was creating really cool dark art. And when I say dark, I mean demons and zombies and post-apocalyptic scenes and destruction and just all kinds of like nefarious creatures. And I loved it. I was loving it. And to be referred to as a dark artist it was fucking cool. I was like, fuck yeah. In the online communities, people were like, oh, this is Alex Ruiz. He's a dark artist, blah, blah. And he's associated with all of these other dark artists. I'm like, fuck yeah. But it wasn't until years after that that I really started to just truly end up in these dark places of isolation. And then I stopped taking care of myself. I was drinking, I was smoking, I was just doing all the wrong drugs. So by the time 2018 rolls around, I'm like, okay, I'm going to end it eventually. But then I found the coaches, and the first two things that really helped me were journaling and meditation. And so that's what I always offer to people who they feel they're in a similar space. They're like, I don't know where to start. I'm in a low place. And I say, find a meditation practice, even if it's 5 minutes a day, and journal, even if it's 5 minutes a day. I mean, if you can get them up to 20 minutes each. And so those two things. And then I started, I don't know, unlocking certain things because I started seeing my thoughts on the paper. I'm like, fuck, I'm thinking these things. Because even if you just straight up write your thoughts, literally word for word, and then you read them back, you're like, fuck, this is what's going on inside of me. No wonder I'm fucked up. Right? So you have that first revelation, and then you start doing journaling practices of, well, how would I like things to be? Like, how would I like my health to be? How would I like my relationships to be? My creativity, right? Then you start writing out how you would want things to be. And then that back and forth is going to help you to basically alchemize a new kind of style of thinking, just like a style of art. You create a style of thinking, right? And how you talk to yourself. It's all an inside game, right? And so I really started to just dive in and started taking care of myself. And after about 6 months, I started coming out of that long, dark road to suicide. And yeah. And I guess a misconception is that we only have one dark night of the soul or one dark night of the ego. It's like, fuck. It's like in some ways they got worse. They got worse after that.
I remember when I thought it was just one.
I know.
Sweet, tender little Kristen.
I know, right? It's like, you made it. You made it through. Now it's all just downhill. It's smooth sailing.
Yeah, I was curious. Was there a part of you that didn't want to let go of the darkness because of maybe some of the muse aspects that can come from that? I know, like for me, I've definitely had, I'm like, okay, if I'm not in the shit, what am I going to pull from to write? Yeah.
Exactly.
So I was curious if you had any of those experiences or if it's something like you still access today or alchemize in that way.
Yeah. So in that process in 2018 and then moving forward, I started creating art that was more visionary. People would call it visionary artwork, and a lot of light beings. Even though like I wasn't even believing in them yet, I love the idea of fantasy, and I've always been drawn to creating fantasy characters. So then I just started creating characters that were much more colorful, and they all had their third eye activated, even though that hadn't happened to me yet. So I'm like, this is like hippie art, and it's cool. Like, it's like woo-woo art. Because I wasn't believing it, but it looked cool to me. So then I just kept adding, and I see the forehead as basically a blank canvas to put things on. And I had always seen art where people's third eyes were activated. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start putting like light here or symbols here, blah, blah, because it looks cool. And I'm like, but it doesn't mean anything to me. And then I started doing like third eye activation meditations because I'm like, well, this dude Joe Dispenza is kind of cool. And like, I like what he's saying, and I like his story, and okay, how he got out of his mess, as it were, was through visualization. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start doing his meditations. I started doing those, and after a couple of months, my third eye area started lighting up. And then I had even more of a reason to start amplifying the characters that I was drawing with third eye activations, throat activations, heart. And then soon I was just like, all these characters had all their 7 chakras all lit up, and they were just like on fire, like spiritually, because I'm like, I'm feeling it now. And now these characters that I'm birthing are experiencing it too. And we had this shared experience, and it was a really beautiful transformation of art. And also in 2018, I found Aubrey Marcus and really got into him. And then I was like, okay, the thing I do when I get obsessed with someone, I paint their portrait.
Oh, okay.
So I created his portrait because I was a fan of his. And then when I was finished, I'm like, how do I get it to this guy? Like, I don't know this guy. I'm not in his world per se. Like, I didn't really identify as a gym bro, but like, I could sense that he understood the artist, and he was also into psychedelics. So that's when I started learning more about psychedelics through him. And so eventually his portrait found his way to him, and then he reached out to me directly, and he's like, this is dope. He's like, let's start, our conversation. So that started our relationship. He ended up using that painting as his podcast cover for like 5 years. Up until like last year, he was using it. And he posted that. It got me a ton more business, and all his friends wanted a portrait and blah, blah, blah. And so that one portrait was kind of the shift in my life and in my art. And then all the characters started, like I said, becoming activated. And still to this day. And yet now there's a part of me that's like, okay, now I want to go back into I don't want to say the darkness. This is where my obsession with horns comes in. And that started on Beauty and the Beast, because I was part of the team that designed the beast. And I literally had to figure out his horn structure, like where they came out of his head, where they twisted. And so I studied horns of all animals. And so during the day I was designing beast. And then at night I would come home and draw sexy women with horns. Because I'm like, this is what I really want to do. Sexy women with horns. And then
horny women.
Horny women. Yes. Yeah. I mean, is there anything better? So then I started posting those, and people were like, are you a devil worshiper? Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, just because it's horns? Then I got into this story of, how the horns came to be with the devil, and how, the god Pan was transformed into the devil by the church. And it's a fascinating story, but what we believe as the devil with horns came from a Greek mythological figure who was the god of pleasure, right? Pan. And then when the church took over, they're like, that's the devil now, because no more pleasure, right? So that's how we got horns. So my next series is all horned characters, mostly women, but it's called Woodland Shadows. And it's basically these characters that live in the woods, and they all have horns, and I'm actually creating a new language, a brand new language. I think you've seen some of the art
just a little tiny
in
bit,
the studio.
but
Yeah. So
even the kind of creating a new language, I'm like, what?
yes,
So cool.
because I'm like, okay, I'm obsessed with Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. I'm like, well, he did it. Fuck, I want to do that shit. I want to create a world, right? So, and up to this point, there's hundreds of drawings that I've done digitally and traditionally that all have horns. I'm collecting them all together, and then I'm going to basically make a story out
I
of
was
it.
just gonna ask if they're I'm like, well, if we have the characters, like, are they interacting or what kind of stories are
Yeah.
evolving with the woodland, was it Woodland Shadows
Woodland
piece?
Shadows, yeah. Yeah, and so there's no definitive story yet, but it's coming about in the process because I'll see a drawing here that I did 5 years ago, and then I'll see one that I did last week, and I'm like, oh my God, these are lovers, or these are brother and sister, and they go here, and this is the villain, and this is the hero, and this is the other hero who becomes the villain, right? So really getting into story and storytelling with this new series is something I'm really excited about. But yeah, they all have horns. So
That's cool. No, I like digging the evolution and like how you can piece them together. How much time do you spend like dedicated per day to like creating this or other things? Yeah.
So right now, in the past few months, since getting back to Austin in January, has been really organizing thousands of pieces of art. Lots of boxes of physical art, lots of digital artwork. And that again is where this struggle of the inner artist just wants to create all the time. But the other part of me, the responsible part of me, which is like, dude, we need to organize this. Otherwise, no one's ever going to see it. And so it's been essentially me becoming my own manager. And so I've been looking for a manager for years, and I've tried out a few people and had some hard lessons about I need to be super clear on exactly what I want and what I'm doing. I need to become my own business manager, and that includes organizing all of this art as almost like a curator so that then I could start to train a new manager, which will free me up to then go back to creating art. But for now, like I said, me and art, we're kind of separated. Well, we're amicable because we know we're working things out. We're going to get together again in the future and make amazing.
Y'all are committed.
Yeah. But until then, it's just structure, organization, and strategy.
Which is can be creative in its own sense too.
Yeah, I'm trying to
right?
look
Like
at
the
it.
Strategy.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. I'm still like trying to wear the I'm a good businesswoman hat because I'm like, no, I'm a creative, and like the stories we tell ourselves. You know, whenever you're talking about journaling and the and getting, it's like you're crafting that new vision, and then you mentioned like meditation and visualization and like crafting that, which I'm always so thankful for having an active imagination or like using that growing up and maybe not as much tablet stuff or that sort of thing. And then you said something about the third eye, and I'm like, okay, well, did you do any other third eye activations, say, that weren't meditation of the mushroom variety or of the
Yes. Okay, yeah. Let's talk about psychedelics.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
I mean, I definitely look at your art and I'm like, okay, it feels trippy sometimes, but I'm like so drawn in by it, and I'm curious if it was like, okay, I'm going to have a session with psychedelics or mushrooms or whatever variant, and then you go create, or if it's like wow, or gather the messages and then I don't.
It's all of it.
Okay.
It's all of it. So I guess going back to when I was 16, that was the first time I took LSD, and it was like, oh my God, what is this? And so me and my friends, we would, go out and do stupid things that 16-year-old kids do. But I would always have a sketchbook with me, or I would always be drawing. And I was like, this is an amazing tool to kind of come along with me while I'm creating. It opens up so many avenues of imagination and thinking, and that you just really cannot access, at least I can't access on a sober mind. I can now because I'm able to tap into what those experiences are like. But starting with LSD and mushrooms at 16, 17, and eventually, let's see here, in 2020, I tried Bufo. You familiar with Bufo?
I'm familiar, but I've never tried it. It's the frog, right? Or one of the frogs.
It's a toad venom.
Yes.
And so I look at my life as before Bufo and after Bufo. That's how, in one 45-minute session, completely changed how I feel and believe and look at life and God and the universe. And I didn't know what I was going to get into, but I was guided in a very safe setting. Had I known what I was going to do, I probably wouldn't have done it because, well, on the one end, it was the most beautiful, profound, blissful, lovely experience. And on the other hand, it was the most terrifying, hellish, horrific experience of my life. And it kind of went in and out of both, but it ended with bliss and beauty. And just to go through that experience and to just come to the realization and awe that the human vessel can experience something like that, it changed everything. And my art shifted almost overnight after that. I was already doing the visionary art thing, but this just kind of blew it out of the water. And so the art got way more psychedelic and way more visionary and colorful and thematic. And because I'd been through that, and now just like with my third eye activation, I can like create these images of transformation because I've been transformed. And so now there's an authenticity to it. You know, my inner drive towards authenticity was now being matched by my external creations. And so there was this beautiful symbiosis of inner expression and then outer expression. And yeah. And since then, experiencing peyote and wachuma and the more gentler, milder cactus medicines, if you will. Every one of these medicines has inspired a new art series because each one of these medicines has a distinct visual signature that I'm able to not only see while I'm experiencing it, but to bring it back and then put it in the artwork. So I can see an artwork and say, okay, that's LSD and that's wachuma and that's Bufo and that's ketamine. And ketamine is a whole other thing because there is no visual signature as LSD. It's almost, you don't know which way is up, which way is down. It's completely, so the art has a very dissociative element because the drug is a dissociative. So yeah, it's fascinating to work while on the medicines. Obviously, you can't be too out of your mind because then you can't even see what's in front of you, right? But sometimes it's fun to make a mess while you are in the medicine and you're like, this is the best painting I ever made. And the next day it's like, what is this shit? It's a pile of shit. But then you might find one thing in there that's cool. You're like, that's cool. And you can cut that out or you can expand on it and recreate it. Right. So nothing is lost in the creative process.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I kind of love the idea of a show of your different images with like, okay, like, can I guess which one is peyote or which one is,
right.
you know, psilocybin or I think that would be kind of cool to see too. I don't know what you would call it, but, or if you even thought about that, but that would be neat, experiential one. And I love that you brought up authenticity too, because I think that's so important. I know I told you that something like that, the inauthenticity was going to kill me. And so it's just the reclaiming of me and being okay with the expression of it in its totality. And sometimes that's, you know, horizontal crying, and then sometimes that's joyful, effervescence. and not shaming either one. Or feeling guilty about feeling one or the other. Yeah, I'm curious. So do you explore other forms of art too, in that expression, in addition to like drawing or painting or?
In the creation or other people's?
No, I mean like in your, but I guess both. I mean, but really creating wise, like do you dabble in writing or do you dabble, singing, dancing?
Actually,
those
all of it.
Oh, okay.
All of it, yeah. So as far as music, I've been playing guitar and piano and somewhat singing, since I was like 10 or 11 years old. So I was always bouncing back and forth between drawing and painting and sculpting and then music. There's always this back and forth, always. And in the past year, I've been really kind of just diving into, because I never consider myself a singer. I could hold a backup to another lead singer and help with harmonies and stuff. But it was always, the story was like, I'm not a singer because I can't sing and blah, blah. And then I realized that, the body's an instrument and it could be trained. And when I started doing breath work seriously in 2020, 21, up until this day, I started becoming a better singer. I'm like, no shit, right? Duh. Like you get better at breathing, you become a better singer. You become a better speaker because you know how to regulate your breath. So I've been really kind of coming into this newfound sense of like, oh yeah, I could sing. And, it's not about being great or I can control the voice. And the same with drawing, right? The way I love to teach drawing is through writing for people that feel I'm not an artist and I can't draw. And I ask them, can you write your name? And they're like, yeah, like offended. I'm like, okay, it's the same fucking thing. You control the line, you control the drawing. If you can control the line and start by writing your name and then writing it bigger and using your full range of motion, right? Then you can apply that to a drawing. And so for me, breathing and singing, it's like the same thing. You control the breath, you control what comes out of the instrument. And so, yeah, I love to write and sing and play guitar and dance and, use the whole body as an instrument for creative expression. Yeah.
I love it. I'm like, what kind of workshop is going to be
right?
from the whole,
Yes.
like a melting or like a cool little creative cauldron. Okay, well,
creative cauldron. I like that. I'm
yeah, a little spice of singing. Since after our session, I was like, I'm gonna practice singing more. Or so I've just been singing a little more because it was something that I had done for myself. And then I think when my parents were like, you're gonna get lessons, I'm like, I don't know about
right.
And then, but I remember loving it. And then some friends were like, oh girl, you can't carry a tune in a bucket. And so that kind of like shit. But then one of my girlfriends came to visit last week or the week before, and she's like, Birdwell, was that a note that you did? And she's like, well, okay. And I'm like, it's been fun to just sing and express myself or like be in the shower, in the car, or just play with it. So thank you too. I feel like there's been so much in different aspects that like the birds are chirping louder. And I mean that like hearing them outside of my place and then also this bird. And so I love that. What kind of, I know the workshop that you taught me was like kind of really cool, like a drawing of the face and like a visualization, and breaking it into different categories and like writing different things down that either wanting to step into or call in or transpire in life. Are there any other workshops that you have percolating, or a lot of them similar to that one, or what you got going on in it?
Yeah. So yes, a lot of other ideas. And I've been writing about this for years also. And coming out of the dark night of the ego in 2018, I was like, I want to start an online art school.
Oh, cool.
And so for months I was like, what do I call it? What do I call it? And so I was working on Avengers Infinity War. And I was like, oh, Infinite Artist. Cool. That's a dope name. So I just started ideating, okay, what would I teach here? And I would bring in, it's not just art, it's art and health, right? So things like breath work and diet and exercise and biohacking and all that. So all of these things I'm formulating with the whole artist in mind. If someone just wants to learn how to draw, paint, or sculpt, I'll offer that. But there's also going to be like, just really stressing the importance of this is the instrument, this is the tool, the whole body and the mind and the spirit, so that then you can create what you truly want to create, right? And so I have one program I'm working on. It's called Artist for a Day. Basically, someone just comes and hangs out with me for a day here in Austin at my studio. But we do all of my biohacking, exercising, cold plunge, sauna, routine, food, right? Meditation, psychedelics, and then we make art.
Love it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of what I'm working on as like a one-on-one or a group offer. And then the Infinite Artist Online is going to be basically an art school in your pocket. You can take it out anywhere with a sketchbook and draw along to videos I'm creating. And so that'll happen as well.
That'd be cool. It'd be cool to have like an interactive like Q&A to that too.
Yes.
Like you can take the videos at your own pace, but then hop on like a live or ask some questions and then also like connect with the other people of like your school.
Exactly.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's all going to be in there. Yeah, community and the live element. So I'm going to start off with like 3 or 4 live classes a month for a low cost membership, and then do a Q&A thing here or there, and then create it on a platform like Kajabi or Circle where the community element is very interactive, but also have live. People are dying and craving the live experience, right? And I feel here in Austin, this is an amazing community to start offering live workshops and having them be consistently held and run. So I'm more excited about that than anything.
Oh, I love that vision.
Yeah.
I like your, can I even say it? I don't know, like the Renaissance or
the neo-Renaissance. Let's go.
It.
Yeah. The new rebirth. Renaissance means rebirth, right? And I feel that. I know. I'm just assuming everyone.
We go through the dark night. Then we have the rebirth.
Yeah. Well, were we talking about last time that the seminal event that kicked off the Renaissance?
Share.
It was the Black Plague. So that coming out of that experience, people really started to reprioritize what they were doing with their time and their money, because half the world had just died horrifically. And so we just are coming out of our own little mini Black Plague, COVID, right? And people are starting to reassess, like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? So there's this massive crisis of identity that I see happening in the world. And I truly believe that creativity and finding one's own unique creative voice is a way of reconstructing one's own identity in this time of this creative rebirth, Yeah,
so. I totally believe like that's kind of what we're here to do on this planet. I feel like we came from this beautiful act of creation, and we're meant to create in some capacity. And that for me, that means both like the more typical standard thought of creative acts, but also like co-creating the lives that we want to live.
Yes.
And then and dancing with the letting go part of that too,
right?
Versus like fixating on a certain outcome or attachment to transpire, and allowing the surprise and delight along the way.
Yes. Yeah, because we want to be surprised. We don't want to know the exact outcome as much as we think we want things to happen exactly as we're imagining. That would just get boring after a while, because you wouldn't be surprised by what came about.
And I think you're dead on too with people craving like the in-person, the interacting, like So I'm like, another freaking Zoom. I'm like, fuck.
Another video.
I'm like, I have enough screen time. Trust me. I look at my
Yeah,
screen time, like, ooh.
I know. Yeah.
I love their idea of like weaving in plays or like
Hmm.
having different showcases, or whether it's like live music or plays
Yes.
or art.
Right?
And I love like also that element of playfulness. I think that's so
Hmm.
important. Which, by the way, I'll share with you later. I don't know how much I want to share like live on a podcast about a book idea that came through after, like, I feel like it was like just a good reset, recalibrating, like book session with Alex. Highly
Yes.
suggest.
I love it.
Love it. And don't you have like a workshop or a showcase coming up too?
Yeah, so I
Or,
have an art show coming up
okay.
on June 28th, and it's from a series I created in 21.
Mm.
So June 21, I created 26 pieces of art, and that was inspired through peyote.
Mm.
And so that is kind of weaved into that. But for me, I consider it I don't want to say my best work, but it is really up there.
It's dope.
Thank
At
you.
least the 2 or 3 that I saw.
Right.
I was like, "Whoa, so that's peyote, okay."
Yeah. So I created these drawings, and 26 because I named one after each letter of the alphabet. And so the show is called Delicate Delirium, and that name came to me through a peyote ceremony.
Wow.
And that's when I realized, oh, that's the name of this series that I've been working on. And yeah, so I'm having that show. It's a huge release for me because I've been dying to show this art for 4 years now. It's just been some people have seen it. You've seen some of it here, there, snippets, but the gallery is going to have all 26 pieces on display. And it's going to be like, we're calling it an interdimensional masquerade ball. So masks, masquerade, yeah, super sexy. We're gonna have a contortionist there. I'm gonna body paint. There's gonna be elixirs, DJ. It's gonna be a dope party. So, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Block out the calendar
yes,
for that.
yes,
So dope. And how cool. I didn't know the piece about you naming them after the letter of the alphabet.
yeah. So going back to early June 21, I created 10 drawings, and I'm like, what is this series? I don't know it. I become obsessed, and I'm like, I'll just draw every damn day in this style. Is very intricate. It's my most intricate work ever. It was all inks, no under drawings, so literally just going line by line, no undos. It was very, very focused. And then I had a peyote ceremony, and the name Delicate Delirium came, and I'm like, oh, that's the name of the series, Delicate Delirium, and that'll be the name of the letter D drawing, Delicate Delirium. I'm like, okay, cool. I just need to create, I'd created 10, so I was like, need to create 16 more drawings, and then I'll name the first one AABB because Delicate Delirium, it just came to me. It's going to be easy. Turns out the letter D has more interesting words to juxtapose than any other letter. So in many ways, it was actually harder coming up with the names than it was the actual drawings. And the drawings are very complicated, right? At least I think. So anyways.
And no undo button?
No undos.
What?
No, yeah, it was crazy. But like I said, I feel it's my best work ever. If there's anything I feel I want to be known for, it's Delicate Delirium. And to finally have the show as a release, right? So that I can then, after that, the big vision is to teach and to do public speaking and workshops and the online art school, really step up as a teacher, and then to get re-inspired again to create more artwork and to fall back in love with the muse that I feel that I'm separated with right now. So
I think there could be a lot of inspiration, like from the students' interaction. How cool and exciting too. That's like right around the corner.
Oh yeah.
That's coming up. Well, is there anything else that you want to share or drop? I think that we're coming up on our time.
Other than just to, let people know, the power of creativity, the transformative power of being creative and whatever that looks like. So I encourage people to even just find 15 minutes a day to, even if you don't know what you want to create, that's where you start and you journal about it. And then you think, well, what would I like to create? For the next 15 minutes, I'm going to write things that I would like to create. And a hint is, I always tell people or ask people, well, what do you like? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, what movies do you like? Music. Make a list of all the things you like or love. That's the shit that you draw or paint or recreate or sing or dance or whatever. And the next thing is, I would say, for people to get the book, Your Brain on Art.
Yeah, I want to get,
It's like an amazing book packed with data and stats about the power of creativity on one's own well-being and how it can transform our lives to be creative.
Yeah, I know that it's being woven into different healing modalities, like incorporating an art element or some kind of art healing thing. A friend of mine actually just told me a really cool where they drew like their addict, and then like what did they want to do to protect it or get rid of. Some people crumpled it, some people drew on a shield. So I was like, how cool to like use art in that way too.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Thank you, Alex.
You're so welcome, Kristen.
Yeah.
So good to be here.
I'll drop all the stuff.
Yes.
Or my lovely assistant, Tels, will drop all of the stuff in the show notes. And
Excellent.
I'm excited to come to the show. That's dope.
Yeah.
If I'm invited.
Oh, you are invited.
Okay.
Totally. And people can find out about it on my site, alexruizart.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.